and welcome to the North Pole where it's winter 70% of the time. Stella's hair is a little bit crazy today because I just got a bunch of burrs out of it, so don't make fun of her. I think one of the most common things people do with a horse is lunge them. It's kind of a universal thing that everybody does with their horse. It's like the first thing that beginners learn how to do. So I thought it'd be an interesting topic to go over because there's a lot of people that do it without actually knowing what they're doing or what they're trying to achieve by doing it. So that kind of brings me to the first point I want to make is you want a clear vision of what you're trying to achieve when you're lunging your horse. Why are you lunging your horse? What are you trying to achieve? What are you looking for? What are the signs that you're looking for to say good enough or that's what I'm looking for kind of thing, you know? If your horse is excited, are you just trying to lunge them to make them sweaty and tired? If your horse is kind of shut down and not really listening to you, are you just trying to lunge them to get their blood working and get them a little bit more excited? I think there are also a lot of people that don't like to lunge their horses because it excites them and then they don't know how to cool their horse off, or their horse doesn't know what to do with that energy after they're excited. They get more nervous after they get excited. So I think it is really important to lunge your horse and to know why you're lunging your horse. And it is really important to train your horse to be able to get excited and then to de-accelerate that excitement and be able to control their energy, because if your horse can't control their emotions or their energy when they're up high, then that could be quite dangerous for both of you. And then if you're just lunging a horse because they're excited and they have a lot of energy and you feel like you need to lunge that energy out of them, again, I feel like that's already a horse that has too much excitement and they don't know how to handle that energy, and they need the tools to be able to learn how to manage their energy and their excitement. So I don't know if lunging is going to teach them how to manage that energy control, but it's more like a distraction or makes them forget about what they were nervous about previously, but they're not actually getting rid of that tension that they have in their body. So as you may notice, it's extremely muddy and wet here, so I'm not actually going to ask Stella to lunge because hazardous. So I won't be able to demonstrate these things that I'm trying to explain, but one of the many things I've noticed that beginners do when they're lunging their horse is they hold on to their lead rope wrong, and it can be dangerous and hazardous to hold it this way. I'll show you the way that is less hazardous. So the way that people that don't know how to hold their lead rope is they hold it straight in their hand as if they're pointing at the horse. This is a super easy way to get rope burn. You don't have any leverage here. The horse can easily pull away from you and you have no way of getting that leverage back. So great way to get rope burn. Also, I think everybody knows this, but never wrap your hand in the rope when you're lunging or when you're leading your horse at all. So the proper way to hold the lead rope when you're lunging is you have your pinky pointing at the horse. So you're holding your lead rope like this. So I was asking Stella to go forward. Come on. I'd have my pinky out facing her. Come on. Come on. Yeah. And if she decided to pull away from me for some reason, I could kink it into myself and pull back in, and I'd have way more leverage that way and a lot less chance of getting rope burn. Another common thing I see while people are lunging their horse, even non-beginners, is that they are giving mixed signals and unnecessary cues when they're lunging. So say I wanted to lunge Stella at a canter, and I have her at a canter, but I just keep putting energy behind her. I keep throwing the whip at her. I'm a windmill behind her, just throwing that energy at her. She's already doing what I want her to do, so why am I continuing to put pressure behind her? Am I asking for a faster gait, or am I just trying to keep her at that pace? If you are just trying to keep her at that pace, teaching her that you are going to keep swinging the whip at her to keep her in that canter means that as soon as you stop swinging that rope, she thinks that she can stop cantering. We're just teaching them that they have to canter as we're swinging the rope, when really we want them to canter until we ask them to stop, not until we are done asking. So as soon as your horse goes into a canter like you were asking, you should immediately pull off that pressure and stop asking, because they are doing the right thing. Even if you are seeing your horse getting lazy and slowing down a little bit, you want them to be able to have the chance to do the wrong thing so that you can ask them again, so that they know that, oh, I went back to a trot, you asked me to canter, I'm going to go back to a canter, instead of, I'm cantering, why are you still asking me? I don't know what you're asking me. That is giving mixed signals and unnecessary cues. It's not necessary to be nagging your horse to canter while they're already cantering. So if your horse is doing what you ask, cut the pressure, stop being a windmill behind your horse. let them come back to a trot, and then you ask them to canter again, because then they realize I go back to a trot, I have to canter again, so I'm not going to go back to a trot until they ask me to stop. And just like not wanting to give mixed signals or unnecessary cues, we also want to make sure that we're extremely clear on what we're asking, so we're not confusing them at all, and they know exactly what we want as soon as we ask it. So we're not flailing our whip around or having to whip them or having them come into our space when we're trying to get them to go that way, so we're like pushing their head away and then trying to get them to go. That is very unclear. They don't know what you're trying to ask. Have a vision of what you want. Have a vision of what you're going to ask. Have a vision of what you want the horse to do. Have a vision of what you want to accomplish out of this. As soon as you go to lunge, be very direct. Have all of that body language going towards where you want to go. Put that energy onto your horse. And then just use your whip as pressure behind them. We're not actually using it as a whip to whip them. We're just adding pressure. As soon as they do what we want, we release. That way they know as soon as they do the right thing, they get that release. Horses learn from release of pressure, not by discipline, I guess. They're looking for that release of pressure. That is their reward, that is their treat. As soon as they get that release of pressure, that is what they're going to try to do next time. And then, again, with lunging, it is a very common thing. Beginners love to do it, and I think that if you aren't sure of what you're trying to achieve, you tend to overdo it because you don't actually know what you're looking for. You're just trying to tire out the horse. A lot of times horses get very sour to lunging and there is no point to it. The horse never connects with the trainer when they are just being lunged in a circle with no meaning. So don't overdo it. Don't make your horse run around in circles for hours. Don't get them all sweaty. You'll make them hate you, make them hate coming out. You'll make them hate being lunged for sure. I had an experience with a horse that hated being lunged and was very sour to it. So that's definitely a thing. Lunging can be a very relaxing thing for the horse. It can help them get more round. It can help them come in tune with you if you are asking the right things, if you are releasing at the right times, if you're not adding unnecessary pressure or cues, if you are allowing them to communicate with you. Always let your horse come in when they are looking for that connection. If your horse is ever asking to connect with you by turning and maybe they're confused about what you're asking and then they're staring at you like, do you want me to come in? Can I come in? Never punish them for wanting to connect or communicate. If they ever want to come in and say hi, I think it's a good idea to let them in. Unless they start overdoing it, then you have to, have some boundaries there. If you're trying to ask them to do something, then maybe you're training them to come into your space and then you let them relax there, so that's where they're finding their release of pressure. So that's why they want to come into your space. That can also be a good thing for connection, but if you are trying to teach them how to lunge, then allowing them to come into your space and relax might be giving them the wrong signals if you're trying to teach them how to lunge around you. If you are using a whip, make sure that your horse is very well desensitized to a whip. They're not at all scared of it. You don't want it to be a weapon. You don't want it to scare them. You don't want to hurt them with it. It is just there as an extension of your arm for communication, just to be able to put your energy behind them, just to put your energy in the right place. I have a Pirelli carrot stick here, and this is great because it has the savvy string, which I can use then as a neck rope, and then you can also take the string off and use the stick just on its own without a whip. Right now it's disgusting because I have it in the mud, but make sure your horse is completely desensitized to your whip, because if they are at all scared of your whip, that is going to put them in fight or flight mode. They do not learn anything. It's impossible to teach a horse when they are stressed and in fight or flight mode. If they are nervous about you attacking them with a whip, it's going to be really hard to teach them anything else. So you really just need to work on desensitization and relaxation and communication. Also, just make sure that you're savvy with your equipment. You don't have a massive handful of rope in your hand that you are trying to untangle the whole time, or trying to keep it from wrapping around your hand, and you don't want to be distracted by your equipment. You don't want it to be harming your performance at all. So make sure you have equipment that's easy to use, not a super long rope that is difficult or slowing you down in any way. So if your lunge rope is too long, I suggest getting a shorter one, or if it's too short, get a longer one. I also think that open lunging in an open arena is good too, because that's great for communication, because your horse can decide to go wherever in the pen, and it's your job to kind of attract them back to you. That can be helpful too. Another thing I wanted to quickly go over is that it's really important never to discipline your horse for being confused, asking a question, being afraid. You can make them stuff their emotions. You can make them shut up if you want. You can make them become robots if you want. But those emotions, just like in people, eventually come out. And sometimes it's the worst times possible when they do come out. Never shut your horse down by being confused or asking a question. If you're trying to lunge your horse and they seem very confused about what you're asking, don't blame them. Don't get mad at them. Don't put more pressure on them, because that is just going to ask for an explosion. You need to reconsider what you were doing. Something that you were doing is not working. So it's kind of like a come back, think about it kind of moment, you know. I think lunging is a very interesting thing because it's such a versatile thing that all equestrians do. English riders, Western riders, all of the trainers, beginners, experts. It's a very, very common tool that everybody uses. I think a lot of people don't even know why they do it. A lot of people use it as a discipline thing. Other trainers use it as a communication thing and relationship building thing. So it's really up to you to decide what you want to be able to accomplish with your horse. If you are looking for a relationship that you can trust, or if you're just looking for an animal to use for your own pleasure. But that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and like it. I post new videos every single Sunday, so go ahead and subscribe. You can also go follow me on Instagram and TikTok while you're at it. Also, we're getting extremely close to reaching 1,000 subscribers, which is like super exciting. I'm also planning something like extremely epic for that 1,000 subscribers mark, so you are not going to want to miss that. So go ahead and join the SportPony team. We will welcome you gladly to this team. So thank you very much. Go ahead and subscribe, and we will see you next week. Bye!